Hello everyone, very good evening to you. Welcome back to the video again. So as usual, we're going to talk about the Dow Jones Index, and then we're going to talk about NASDAQ, Snp500, STI, then of course various stocks in the Singapore market. Of course, we're going to talk about some stocks that we have mentioned last week, and then review on the indices outlook that we have discussed last week. So without further ado, let's take a look at the Dow Jones average. As I mentioned last week, as you can see, all the drawings are still here on the chart. I mentioned that the Dow has to cross above this candle, and then there's a chance for it to continue higher to hit the resistance at around 34834, and then after that breakout from there to go to 35091. Okay, so can the Dow do it? There's a few good chances. There might be a slight pullback here and there, probably due to some FOMC minutes. Somehow the market likes to pull back whenever there's FOMC. Other than that, the bank's earnings will start next week. And with the stress test they have done earlier, late in June, the stress test result was good. And the banks was able to increase their dividend, etc. So as such, if the banks are bullish, then we can see that there might be a more upward movement for the Dow as well. Okay, so yeah, let's watch for the Dow tomorrow night, as tonight the US market is closed for holiday. So if the Dow were to break out tomorrow, then we can see it has a chance to go 35091 resistance. NASDAQ 100, as I mentioned last week, you can see all the arrows that have still been drawn is still on the chart. Here we are looking for a pattern like this and pattern like this. If there's any patterns for pulling back, we were expecting the NASDAQ to pull back to somewhere near its low with a potential 11% or even 8% here. Okay, so so far the NASDAQ is still doing well. As we can see, it hasn't formed the weakening sign, and in fact it broke out strongly last Friday to close at the high, so all-time high again. So as you can see from this projection, we are looking at the 8.1%, where S&P 5, rather the NASDAQ 100 may be able to hit this level later at 15223. So if that is the case, then at that level, do watch out for a sign of weakness where we start to see consolidation, or we start to see a severe gap down like this and like this. That may mark the start of a correction. So we have to be careful of that. All right, S&P 500 is also strong because the Dow is strong, NASDAQ is strong. Of course, S&P 500 would continue to move higher, moving towards our target at 4414. So here we are looking at the S&P 500 now closing at 4352. So the market is at the high. The earnings are coming up, as I mentioned. Starting from next week, the banks will kick off the blockbuster earnings. So if their results are good, then we may see the market continue to rally higher. Now, the STI today started slow, but managed to close at a decent level where we can see a nice white candle. Now, just a quick rewind last week when we were covering STI. STI was here. As I mentioned, that STI candles suggest weaknesses, and so it is where we see it suddenly had a gap down and then push all the way down below support level. Now, of course, that This is where I have also explained in the email or anybody who I talk to that there is a quote reaching day on that particular day on the 29th of June. Now, quote reaching day is where we are looking at all the futures contracts, option contracts, for instruments in the US market all expire together. So this is where the funds got to switch into new contracts, and therefore there will be selling first, and then what happened is that that selling pushed the index lower. So the next day we start to see recovery, a very strong recovery for the index to push to resistance at 3145. So this 3145 is still a hard nut to crack, as the index attempt to break up from it on the second day and failed to do so. So it's still hovering at this level, so not too bad. And today we see a nice white candle closing just below the resistance. So if the rest of the week is bullish, we are likely to see 3145 broken and STI continue higher to 3182. Now let's look at individual stocks and see how is it possible. So let's start off with the banks. Okay, so we can see DBS start with a fantastic movement from here. So this movement actually negated its downtrend, and the movement up to test resistance over here actually start a new trend or new movement, new type of movement, because now we are looking at same high. And the next is that whether DBS is going to form a higher low or same low, same high for sideways, then that is where we have to watch very carefully. So holding above 2980 at the moment now can help DBS to form an uptrend with a higher low. But if DBS ding dong between 3020, 2980 a few times, this means that it could start a sideways, but at a smaller range between 2980 to 3020. Of course, we do not want to see DBS move to a huge range of sideways where 2930 is tested, rebound to 3020. That is not very healthy for the index. Okay, DBS is a resistance, so is OCBC, but OCBC is not as bullish as DBS as of now, but then the chart is looking good as DBS managed to, I beg your pardon, OCBC managed to trade very near to its $12 resistance. $12 seems to be a very difficult level to breach through, as it closed lower once it touched that level. So if we were to see this OCBC test $12 again, then we have a mini patterns over here. So we have a mini inverse head and shoulder, and once that breakout happens, that $12 is able to be compromised, then we may be able to see OCBC continue higher. Just nice, the projection level is to its resistance level to 1232. So it's very important for OCBC to break up from there. Then we have UOB. UOB also looking good. So currently we are looking at the UOB ranging from 2531 to 2598. And if we can break up from 2598, where we see the consolidation here is accompanied with declining volume. Once it breaks up with volume surge, I think hitting 2638 shouldn't be a big obstacle for UOB. And not to forget the bank's earnings in the US market can have some positive outlook in our local bank as well. So let's watch for the resistance for the banks. Now, last week, I also, of course, every week I covers the tech and the banks religiously. So last week we talked about the tech counters. And I also have a separate videos which talk about stocks review on the posting that I've made. AEM is one of the counter that I have posted in my regular daily email to my regular supporters who trades with me. And this is where I do have this target in mind, where I expect AEM to cover 398 as I mentioned last week, and AEM is almost there, just a little bit more, 3 cents shy, then it will cover the whole gap. Okay, but although we do expect AEM to move higher, but the upward movement seems to be awkward. As it moves higher, we can see that the candle gets kind of small, and usually these are signs of slowing down. And the next thing to look out for is that if there is some lead surge, then we are looking at the counter to break up from 398 to go to 417. Okay, so if the momentum can keep up, if not, we do want to see some pullback, some gradual pullback, fill up the gap, then hover a bit, then pull back to test support level and rebound from here. So here we can start to ambush AEM again, where it may be the next higher low for it to continue to go back to 398, and then eventually a strong breakout, right, lead AEM to 417. Okay, UMS, as I mentioned, as you can see, the drawn last week, I expect it to test 142 rather. This counter went to 143 low. Okay, and immediately it did not disappoint. It break out higher, and it has hit the high at 155. So it is still hovering at a high, waiting for the next movement to come. As it consolidates at a high, the volume is also looking low. Right, as you observe, the volume is low. So this tells you that the market is waiting for the next wave to come. Will the next wave of breakout happens immediately, or we see UMS pull back to support level at 148, find support to form the next higher low and then move up? Now, of course, the ideal situation is that I really hope that UMS can touch 148 and rebound from there. Because if you have done so, then we can ambush UMS again, then aim for 155 to break, and the ultimate target that we're looking at probably 170, a little bit greedy over here. Frencken, after hitting the high, as I mentioned, that we would want to see this shooting star negated by a white candle over here, but unfortunately we don't see. The counter slowly move edge lower, and although that the volume did not spike up over here, so we can see some consolidation. So this overall volume is considered as light, and we have a support level for Frencken at about 180. So if Frencken is able to hold at 180 support and rebound from there, we can look for an ambush here, around here at this range, and then look for a rebound next towards 194, 195. ISDN similar to UMS. As I mentioned last week, ISDN we are looking at it to break out and move higher, and it did. So it break out finally broken out from 715 resistance and then move up. So it's very near to its next resistance of 77, but unfortunately that 75 level is too tough. So it couldn't crack it yet. So next we are looking at ISDN to rest well over here at this range above 715. And once the tech resume, then they'll start hitting resistance where ISDN hit 77. And if we can break out then we are looking at 82. NanoFilm, as you can see the drawing over here, following up from last week, we can see that this downtrend line, and NanoFilm had a breakout over here, and it went to very near to this resistance at 559. So fail to test that resistance or even break out from it. So we can see some uncertainty at the top over here with candles, long upper shadows and black candles. So typically these are signs to tell us that, hey, maybe NanoFilm wants to take a break, and if we really have a rest, we like it to rest at 540 and rebounds as such, forming the next higher low, and then resume back its uptrend. So let's see where NanoFilm is going to rest next week. Then the next counter, we have APAC Rallied. On the 20th of June, as I review my videos, I did mention the two property related counters, APEC and PropNext. In the stocks review video, I actually already discussed about PropNext. So if you're interested, you can look through the list of video that I've posted, and then you can look at the latest one, which is stock review for 7th of July. That video I talk about PropNext. APEC Reality, I did mention that APEC Reality on the 20th of June is that it must clear 6-7, and eventually it did. So today we are looking at a very strong 3 white candles. Some call it 3 white soldiers, but of course, if the magnitude is too long or too huge, I would not use it as a signal for entry, but rather to look out for potential pullback. Then we re-enter again. So you can see that PropNext, APEC actually rallied up very similarly to current situation in the past, and then it went to the high and decided to consolidate before it break out again. So do expect this kind of movement to happen again. So watch out for it, wait for it. So once that opportunity is presented right in front of you, do not miss it. Write the trend together with APEC. Okay. Then we are going to talk about a few counters, like for example, Capitaland. Using the screener to screen, I realized that Capitaland is sitting right above its 50-day MA. With a lot of news going on, we see Capitaland, divest some of its China assets, and some of this divestment is good. Reason being because that you cannot keep investing. You need to realize some profit so that you can keep yourself current and look for a new opportunity. So I believe Capitaland is in that direction. And not to forget, the deal is coming, and we are moving very fast towards the third quarter of 2021 already. And then in the blink of an eye, finally, we are looking at the end of the year of 2021. So will Capitaland start to move already? So we see resistance level at 375 as Capitaland has tested a few times and failed to break up from it. And then we do see 378 resistance as well. So this indicator Bollinger Band is also indicating squeezes, and with potential this clean coming on, and the deal is still on, I still remain positive on Capitaland. So do watch out for the counter. If it suddenly just break up from 378, then you know that we are getting very close to that deal. ComfortDelgro, as we heard last week, the announcement, or rather from the paper, that there are announcements coming on the 12th of July that we are going to have more rules relaxed. And if you were to subscribe to the MOH WhatsApp, every day they send WhatsApp to me, and then we are looking at less than 10 cases every day. That is a very good sign. So there's no surge in cases. As such, we are on track to have more, probably gathering out there. And then what we are looking at is that ComfortDelgro's taxis probably is going to be in demand. So we are going to look out for a breakout. So if I were to turn on the indicators, you can see that ComfortDelgro's managed to rebound from its 20-day MA, but it is blocked by a cluster of MA 20, 50, 100. So once it clears this MA and move up above 168, then we may see more potential upside with it moving probably towards its resistance 171. Okay, the indicators are bullish. If you look at MACD, pretty fantastic over there. So we really need a breakout. But do take note that I'm just not looking at the indicators by itself, but I'm looking at the prospect of the counter. You know, what could be the catalyst to push it to move higher. And I see the opening of the market, okay, or rather the movement would help ComfortDelgro. But of course, technically, we do need to see some breakout happening. Kimley, I also mentioned this inside the stocks review video because this counter was highlighted in my email. And we see today it actually rebounded strongly with volume picks up tremendously. So the next is to test and break above its 415 resistance. Then we may see it move to its next target. So in the video, I did a Fibonacci projection. So I'll just repeat that again. You know, the target is about 44. If you were to break out successfully, then we can see about 44 to be tested. Mapletree NAC Trust. I haven't in my video talked about the REITs investment. I'm thinking along that line where maybe I would be sharing some of the good fundamental REITs to you so that you can also look for some dividend portfolio. Although this is not the best REIT fundamentally, but it has a very good investment and managed to successfully diversify its portfolio. So at one point of time, its income was solely from Hong Kong, and then slowly it reduced to 70%. Now I can see that it dropped to about 56% from Hong Kong property. So because it has been aggressively buying property elsewhere, like in Japan, China. So from the screener, it was fracked up that this counter managed to rebound from the 100-day MA. And what we are looking at is that if it can continue its rebound, it should be able to retest resistance at 108. And then once it breaks out, the next target for it to move to is 111. Okay, so as you have noticed that some of the REITs have been very strong. They're moving up all-time highs, like for example, AIM, SETSA, you know, all these REITs are way too high, and then it's not worth to really start an investment with them. So we can start to look for those fundamentally good REITs, but it's relatively at the low to start with. Although when we talk about relatively at the low, we are also looking at in REITs investment one thing called yield. So the yield has to be attractive. So some fundamentally good REITs, but I have not invested is on a counter is called Parkway Life REIT. I haven't been able to move into this counter. The reason being is because my target yield for a REIT is 5%, at least 4.5 to 5%, but Parkway Life REIT just doesn't want to go there. Most of the time it hovers about 3.5, you know, so that's why I never move in. And the reason why it is so low in terms of the yield is because of its price. Its price has been moving up quite strongly. So the DPU hasn't been able to keep up with the price yet. So that's why the yield is pretty low, but the fundamental is very strong. Kappa DC REIT, the yield is not very strong. I think at this moment should be about 3 point something. But I have decided that, with the lessons from Parkway Life REIT, we should learn from it and then move into fundamentally good REITs when it's low. No doubt the yield is low as well. Reason being is because once the market start to look back into these attractive REITs, the stock price may recover. So Kappa DC REIT is right now sitting at the low, so everybody is looking at it. In fact, there's a few posting emails or analysis from other institutions talking about it. So today we see a very strong rebound. So if candlesticks reversal pattern were to come in, this is called one white soldier. And of course, the resistance is about 252. It may break because this kind of resistance, when it's very near, tend to break. Then the next one will be 261. Okay, so Kappa DC REIT I have just added in my REITs portfolio. Lastly, the counter I just want to highlight is Union Gas. Okay, Union Gas today we see some movement. Hopefully the movement can continue with a breakout above 106, close above 106 with volume surge, hopefully at about 1.2 million. As this counter is moving to the main board, there might be some more bullishness. So if it does happen, we like it to test 112 and then eventually 117. Of course, the key support to watch is 102. So once it goes below 102, something short term may be happening. So we've got to watch. Okay, so hopefully we do see Union Gas close higher tomorrow at 108. Then we have a high chance to see 112. So as such, this is the end of the video. I hope that this can be beneficiary to you, and then I hope that all our trade plans comes true. And then for the rest of the week, do have a good week ahead, and then take care, stay safe.